Oh man, what's up?
Sorry, I was a little late. I actually got up early and did a bunch of stuff, and then you know how the creatures crawl around these Nashville hotels in the morning. I went down for coffee. We're in that hotel we're in when we do rehearsals, so one near the Indian restaurant, and I I went down for coffee earlier, and it was like a trough, you know. So.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like a Golden Corral without the logo.
Yeah, so I was like, man, I need to go down and get a coffee before we start this thing, or I'm gonna be more dull than usual.
The one of the good things I like being at home, obviously, is just 'cause I can just kind of no set schedule per se, kind of do my thing, but it allows me to drastically alter my sleep schedule because I find myself going down rabbit holes late at night. And like this AI thing in this NASA, whatever this object is
Oh,
hurtling towards our planet.
is this the three eye atlas thing?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm just super fascinated by the fact that all these theories are out there and like you want to believe NASA, the government agencies,
right.
but as the last couple of years have shown, I don't know if that's usually the best route to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's three eye atlas is interesting. From what I haven't done a ton of. I mean, I've seen the stuff. I haven't done a ton of research into it, but uh, I do know that it's the third interstellar object that we know of that has entered our solar systems. That's why the three I is three
Correct.
interstellar. Which means that it came from outside of our solar system and it's going at a speed much faster than anything that would be, traveling in, coming from inside of our solar system. And what its trajectory is odd, right? Oumuamua is like the first one I think that we
Yes.
found, and but Oumuamua like turned, right? It did like a maneuver or something, and it had people freaked out.
Yeah, it almost like deflected itself away.
Hmm.
But
So
I like
three eye atlas, they actually have like footage of it. And you can see it kind of. I guess it's probably a sped up image, but you can see it moving. When they're zoomed in on it, and it's they say it's a comet, but it almost looks like a cloud with these points of light in it. It's very interesting looking, right?
yeah, it kind of makes you wonder. Like I don't know what the obviously when the pandemic happened, I think that's when the jump for AI kind of like really pushed itself. And the
Yeah,
whole thing, I know you and I have talked about this, but like, what if this push for AI and like, oh, you don't know what videos are real now,
yeah,
is actually their way of us realizing that this stuff out in this world we don't understand, whether it's UFOs or these crazy cryptid videos that are dropping now that people say are AI but really aren't.
right.
And so, what if all this stuff's finally opening up or coming to fruition, and AI is going to be used to mitigate the belief system? It's almost like the whole pandemic thing, where now if there's a vaccine coming out, majority of the world's not taking it, and maybe that was the play all along because now people aren't going to believe it. And when it really does, you need it. It's going to kill a lot of people. Like I don't know. I've just been
Hmm.
thinking of a lot about this stuff, and it's like it's
Yeah.
so fascinating to me.
Dude, I had a meeting, what a meeting, a visit. Let's say a visit with my neighbor Ken. Ken and I have visits every once in a while, and
Is this
I
the
like
guy at
Ken.
the down the dock down the?
No, Ken's my next door. He's the retired doctor.
Okay.
He's 77. He does blacksmithing and stuff. So I've been seeing him out there doing a bunch of blacksmithing. So I went out and sat down with him because I've been so busy. Haven't had a chance to visit with him in a while. And his take on AI is interesting. He pays attention to a lot of things. He's an older fellow, but I say he's older. He's only 20 years older than me or something. Like
Right,
he
right,
just
right,
like,
right.
oh boy.
He's still a blacksmith. Like, come
Yeah,
on now.
this is what this is what happens. But he seems to think that AI is going to crash and burn, and simply because what people think, and this is his take, and I'm taking this in. And I'm like, he's right though. He goes, AI isn't the intelligence people think it is. It's just a high-powered algorithm right now. Like it's just a mathematical equation that we've a very complex mathematical set of equations to and created a very intelligent algorithm, like a really smart Google, and uh, uh, but it gets a lot of things wrong, man, and it's definitely in its infancy for sure
Right.
right now. But the thing is it only right now, at least, it's a mathematical equation like that, I don't think, and he made this point. I don't think it's just going to pop to life. It's going to seem alive, right? Because of the way it communicates with us in a human way. It's designed to communicate with us as a human would communicate. So it makes it seem real. It makes it seem alive, but it can only do with what we put into it.
Right.
And and once we stop innovating and start letting it innovate, meaning letting it come up with ideas, it's going to come up with really crappy ideas. Now it's going to have some home runs too, but I think that eventually it will he says, I don't think, sorry, reiterate again, this is him talking, but he says he thinks it will spiral downward because of the lack of creative input, which is an interesting thing to think about. Right now, it seems super scary and it's come on really, really fast. But if you just think about it like it's a like a Google machine, I don't know. It's an interesting way to think about it. It's an interesting way to kind of take the power off of it. Like he seems to think that it's gonna just not the promise isn't what people think it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the big thing is what you said is people not believing their ears and eyes and becoming and I mean, right now, man, the biases that people have are so much stronger than what they ever were before pandemic. People's
Right.
bias toward or, for or against whatever their belief system is. Everyone has just clamped down really hard and I think maybe because we don't know what to believe, we don't know what to think. So it's like we hold on to the things we're holding on tighter to the things we do believe and have believed in the past. And not, our lack of trust has gotten,
Well, it's
rightly so, has gotten way more amplified.
like growing up, like with mom and dad, like it's like with, hey, trust your gut. If something feels off, it's off. And it's like
Yeah.
we've kind of, it's almost like AI or who whatever doesn't want us to. They want us to second guess ourselves. And I think that's where a lot of stuff falls apart. It's like,
Yep.
because I, even to this day, like I still can walk into a situation and feel like something's off, or hey, this is probably, we should probably do something a little bit different because I don't think I trust this, what's going to happen. Like, I feel it in my intuition, right? My gut.
Yeah. Dude, I've listened to an interesting podcast yesterday on the plane. Then when I got here, I'm going to find this dude's name right now. Hang on. He was on the Danny Jones podcast, but I also found him. I guess he was on Rogan in the past 6 months, and I didn't know that. Not a guy I've ever been familiar with, um, but Thomas, what's his name? Thomas Campbell is his name, and he was a NASA scientist. He developed uh, how do you describe it? Systems. So he would like they would ask him like what would happen like hypotheticals like what if we I think he mentioned like bird strikes on a rocket like what are the all possible outcomes of a bird strike on a rocket? Like meaning a rocket's going at
Okay.
1.5 times the speed of sound. A 4-pound bird, he said, is like a cannonball hitting the thing. Like it's like he said it's like something like 6 million pounds of force or something. So it'll put a hole right through a rocket. This bird will,
Right.
and it's a real problem. So like he was like, how do we? So he would develop these systems that would these computer systems and basically analytics that would get spit out every single possible outcome of that. So they would know without even having to test like what would happen. Um, he also worked for the Defense Department as well. But he, back in the 70s, started doing um, uh, uh, like remote viewing and not for NASA. He was doing it for the government. He was doing it for a separate thing. It was almost like in his spare time he would go do these experiments. And it wasn't just remote viewing. It was also all manner of telekinesis and moving things with your mind. And what he claims is switching timelines. So like there are all these not even timelines, just dimensional type thing. He didn't call it a dimension, though. He called it something else. But where like different realities, I guess is the way he described it, where like, he can like, and he claims to be able to like put himself in these other realities. And these were very scientific experiments. Like they had a whole laboratory set up with uh, soundproof chambers and blindfolds and being able to see without your eyes. He says like he
Mm.
like they did experiments with blind people, and they said they claimed they could see with their fingers. Like they could describe to you what they saw on the page by touching it. and it would be exactly what's on the page. They're like, I can see through my fingers, you know? And his whole takeaway from that, this goes back to intuition and what you were talking about is that, what is that, you know, God basically is a system and everything we see around us is information. Not saying God isn't divine. He's just saying that like the creator of this thing that we
Right.
see, basically the consciousness is fundamental. The consciousness is the primary and our reality is secondary. So that's one of the big questions in science is what we see around us, is it what's real and this creates our consciousness, like our brain creates consciousness, or is consciousness the only thing that's real and consciousness has created this, we've used consciousness to create this reality around us. And he is 1,000% certain that that's the
Mm.
case. That he's like, because I have been in a consciousness state. I have manipulated the physical world using consciousness, but I've never been able to manipulate consciousness using the real world, the physical world rather. Um, and so he talks about this system. He calls it the system, but he ends up equating it to God eventually. But how the system uh, uh, will send you things that like intuition. Like I don't feel like this is right. Like this doesn't
Yeah.
seem like it's like something's off with this. And he's like, you should listen to that. That is something telling you that something is completely off. And uh, I would. It gets a little weird. The podcast got a little weird, a little over halfway, because this guy
Yep.
is he's so dry. Like there's no humor in his delivery. There's no nothing. He's a
It's also
scientist.
tough to understand this
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah, but well, yeah, I
Like
guess
is
so.
remote viewing, is that like a divine power, or are these people that have this capability able to whatever they were gifted, or just do we all have the ability to remote view? It's just the fact
Yes.
that we
That's the
are
takeaway of it.
suppressing ourselves. Okay.
Well, the belief is like anybody can remote view. Anybody has these abilities. It's just, do you apply them? This guy, they go into talking about into talking about Chris Bledsoe and the things he
Yeah.
sees, and because this guy knows Bledsoe as well, and the healing stuff. And this guy claims this guy himself is like he's like and it's weird to hear somebody say this, and I want to believe it, but it's just strange to hear somebody say this. But he's not a right brain person; he's a left brain person. You know what I mean? So he's not like this eccentric like
Correct.
artist type. He's a physicist. That's what his job is. I mean that's what his degrees are in is in physics. And he claims he's like, I've healed people before. He's like, it's all about probabilities. It's like if I think about now it's not going to work 100% of the time. He's like, because you have a probability of someone being sicker or less sick, or the potential outcomes of something, like say someone has stage 2 cancer. Well, that's a much better probability of survival than stage 4 cancer. He's like, if someone has stage 2 cancer, he's like, you can think about that person being healed and you're changing the probabilities that they're going to get better. And it's like prayer. It's really interesting. It's almost like he had this scientific way of describing prayer and God and everything
Boom.
rather than it just being woo woo. It was like he was putting it into numbers and into probabilities and that kind of thing. And there's a woman who's writing a book right now who he quote unquote healed. He's not claiming to be a healer. He's just like, because of the information that is out there, I changed the probabilities because I decided as an experiment to concentrate on this woman and uh and try to get her cancer to go away or whatever. But I'm making it sounds ridiculous with me saying it. You probably need
Yeah,
to
of course. No,
listen to the
yeah.
guy talk about it because he really goes into depth about how it's not just him. It was he and like four other scientists that for, you know, 15 years did these experiments and taught themselves how to do these things. And uh and it's all, they wrote papers on it and everything
Right.
else. It's not like it was
It
just
is cool. Like Sean Ryan's had a couple of people on there. I'm trying to think of the woman that was on. There was a remote viewer that how the government or these black book agencies are using remote viewing as a weaponization in terms of what possibly could happen, or or kind of like get. Well, I guess that's the way to do it. Like they're looking at hey, this attack could happen, or
That's what this guy's
this.
talking about, probabilities of things.
Right. So it's
That's
like
what,
mathematically trying to figure out the chances of something happening well. But like it's one of those things where it's like you can't. I'd be curious not about the healing because I think there is divinity to that. It's something we can't understand, obviously. But when
right.
it comes to like a possible terrorist attack or hey, this person's meeting with this person, possibly this could come down the line. What is the mathematical percentage of that actually happening? Or like how do we fact check? It's like when I talk about, oh look, here's a picture of Mars. Well, only six people know what's actually going on up there. Why are we
Right.
supposed to believe these group
Correct.
of people?
No,
How do we
I'm with
supposed to
you.
trust remote viewers unless that thing 100% happens?
Yeah. Well, the thing is those things that they see. So the remote viewing is different than sort of seeing what's coming in the future, I guess. Remote viewing is literally putting yourself in a place.
Yeah, in that room.
Right. And I guess I'm wrong about that because they talk about how like they can see things in the past and see things in the future as well.
Well, I
Because
mean, that makes sense.
time isn't what we think it is, right?
Correct. The different timelines and
Yeah.
what, yeah, exactly.
But the interesting about everything we're talking about, man, is the fact that this is all government funded stuff. Like
Correct.
and government research stuff. It's not like and the government is notorious for like, well, if something is costing us money and it's bullshit, we're gonna stop spending money on it. And these are
Correct.
programs that continue to this day.
Yeah, MK Ultra,
So
like all that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, man. I was talking to who was I talking about MK Ultra? It was Brent. He wasn't
Yeah.
familiar with Sirhan
Oh God.
and RFK and how that Sirhan to this day claims he's I mean now I will say of course he says he's innocent. This guy, if you've ever seen the guy and ever watched footage of him, it's he claims to have no memory of that event, like zero. I think he was a Turkish immigrant,
Yes.
something like that.
Yep. It's from
Um,
Istanbul or something like
yeah,
that.
and you know he claims to have zero memory of pulling the trigger on RFK. And I don't know if and again I never come to these things prepared because I don't know what we're going to talk about. But there's also video recently I've seen of there's an experiment done with a hypnotist about seeing if they could hypnotize somebody to assassinate someone without them knowing it. And but they did it in a way where it's like, you know, you're not going to they made it clear from the beginning this person was not going to use a real gun. They were not
Right,
really going to
right.
kill someone,
Plan it out though.
but we want you to attempt it. And basically this they end up getting these people at a live show together, and the person that they had hypnotized stands up in the middle of the thing with a fake gun and pulls the trigger on the fake gun and has no memory of doing that and has no memory of the setup at all. Like they were programmed to go to this show and assassinate this person or
It's like
attempt to
Naked Gun. I mean, you look at
attempt
all
to
these movies and stuff.
no man but it's not but the thing is it sounds ridiculous, right? But like the power of suggestion and it's actually really really scary, man, if you go down that whole think about this. It's possible, not saying it's probable, but it's possible that every single one of us has some kind of a trigger that we've been there's been some sort of programming through school and media and television
Yeah.
and suggestion and everything our whole lives, except for the Amish because they're not plugged into the system, right? It's always weird how the Amish are always exempt from everything. They have, you know, disease, you know, everything like the
Education,
educate, yeah, yeah,
everything. Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
Taxes,
but yeah, dude. So here's something
religion.
too.
Right.
Yeah. But how they you know but how it's possible that all of us have a trigger, some sort of a trigger where all that, you know, the right word is said to us, the right thing is suggested, and we carry out some event that we have no idea we're going to carry out, you know, or we do something we don't know we're supposed to do that we're programmed to do.
It,
I'm not saying that's probable, but it's possible, knowing that the fact that and you know these, by the way, people, these things we're talking about happened and do happen. There's something called MK Ultra where they back in the 50s and 60s, and they were experimenting with mind controlling people using substances and suggestion and hypnosis and all of these other things, and it's all out there. And they claim they stopped doing it. They didn't. they're not going to stop doing it.
Yeah. Why would
It's
you?
probably it's just evolved. It's what it is.
Well, isn't it
But
interesting when they're like, okay, we've had people say that we've had the iPhone capabilities in the 60s and 70s. Like
sure.
we're
Yeah.
so far ahead of like what was being released. Well, then you
Yep.
look at like space exploration or the ocean that hasn't been explored by like 82%, or the human brain that hasn't been studied or broken down like in the small percentage. It's almost like they put that stuff out there because there are entities or groups of people out there who are actually working on this stuff at such a high level that if the truth came out with all these different like things, like I know we've talked about it, like we wouldn't be prepared to actually understand like how this what this world really is.
Yeah. No, man, it's you know, I feel like look, there's definitely something going on in this world that we don't understand. And that's such it seems like such a dull thing to say because it seems so obvious, but like I mean, not just on a spiritual level. Like, I feel like there's no way that there's not something else out there that on a spiritual level is greater than us. And there's also things going on, things flying around our skies, things happening, uh, odd events, things that happen to individuals that they have a hard time explaining to others
Right.
that are going on that we don't know about. And uh,
It's like they're using science as a way to mask the possibility that there is a spiritual aspect to our lives.
yeah, man.
I mean, look at
Yeah,
the
I
when
think.
Tucker Charles or uh, what's his name?
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson had that guy on talking about uh, that this isn't aliens and UFOs. These are angels and
Spirits,
demons.
right? Yeah,
And so
spiritual
it
stuff.
kind
Yeah,
of makes to your point, like the idea of it's a spiritual battle, and
yeah.
science is used as a way to not combat it, but to distract from the fact that there is a spiritual war going on right now and stuff happening around us
Well,
that we don't understand.
this guy the fellow that I mentioned earlier, the guy that was on the podcast, talked about how our the way our education system is set up all over the world, it is purposely set up to make us dull. Like it's purposely set up to make us forget who we are. I guess his point was like you can take a 5-year-old. He's like, I could teach a 5-year-old how to see without their eyes. He's like
Ugh.
because they're not because they have no there's been no suggestions made to the 5-year-old. The 5-year-old isn't bound by any preconceived notions of what's possible, what's impossible. And he's like, these are things that our ancestors knew that we should know how to do. You talk about the remote viewing thing. Uh, there was probably a point in time where or communicating without words, talking to someone without moving your lips. That was probably something that 150,000 years ago with humans probably was a thing because you'd probably had to be able to communicate a thought or a feeling or hey, we're in danger or let's go or something without saying anything. And it speaks to, and what's left over from that is just our intuition, is the kind of the thing that's like sort of left over that happens occasionally. We get a bad feeling about something. We feel like, something bad's about to happen and it does. But that's something that possibly we were all tuned into at one point and we could all use and do. And but now we've been told, we've been brought up to be dull. It's like, math, English, whatever history they want to teach us,
Yeah, just yeah,
and
pick
and
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 choose.
rudimentary science, and then they kick you out the door into the world and go be a worker bee for us and don't think too much. By the way, God isn't real and everyone should be equal and the tax eat the rich and all this ridiculous stuff. They send you out into the world to worry about superficial things. And whereas this guy says he's like, I could take a 5-year-old, teach them how to communicate telepathically, teach them how to remote view, teach them how to see without with blindfolds on. They could tell you what's on the page. Um, and by the way, these people are doing this on camera. There's some other Danny Jones podcast. There's another individual that he has on there who Danny picks the material. He picks the pages the guy's going to look at. The guy has no idea what Danny's brought in this bag of stuff. The guy puts a blindfold on and he's telling Danny everything that's on the page, everything he sees. You know, like this stuff is real. But this guy's point is like he's like a 5-year-old. I could teach them how to do that, and then for the rest of their lives, they'd be able to jump timelines and read with their see without their eyes. communicate without their mouths, and but we've been so dumbed down by society. Like I mean, for God's sakes, man, they send us to school and don't even teach us basic, how to do our taxes or how to do basic finances. They don't want us to know. They don't want people to know how to do those things. Um, and so, uh, I just think it's keeping, if you can keep the public dull and you can keep them from, 'cause imagine the power that we would have as a society if everyone got taught that stuff, you know,
Yeah.
and then suddenly the people who are in power wouldn't have power anymore. Money wouldn't be important. We'd figure out some other way of doing things. We probably wouldn't be as greed driven as we are, but that would take all of the money and power away from everyone, and their lives would be different, and they don't want that.
Well, taking it one step further, like take people away from other people to actually experience. Because it's like one thing that I like about touring, it's complete fantasy world in terms of like
Hmm.
the concept. You see the show, but you don't realize the craziness and shit that happens before all that happens.
Right.
But when you're with someone, I mean, I've toured with people, whether it's Hawk or you guys. I mean, we're getting close to 9, 10 years, and I can look at you guys, or even like you, if I can, without even saying a word, just by how your eyes look or how you're moving around, I know what you need or I know what's wrong.
Yeah.
And so, last couple of tours ago, we're doing like a sound check, whatever, and like I see Drew flustered about something, and it's not gear related or guitar related, and the way that, but I see him kind of like looking at something, and I walk over there, and without even talking to him, I moved the barricade or the bike rack, how it was kind of in a way, where like I walk by him, and he goes, "Hey man, thank you. I was about to tell you like that. I was just staring at that for a long time," and I go, "No, I know what you're looking at." And so it's like
Yeah.
when you get around a group of people for as long as we are, like we have that sense of like nonverbal communication.
Yeah.
And so that's why like I got so pissed off when like the pandemic happened. Like we're all at home, and then you take these kids out of the schools, and
Hmm.
now they're not getting all the education they're supposed to be getting, but now they're losing that idea of we're just going to educate you through a screen or a
Yeah.
laptop. But you learn so much around other people, just being around other people. And I
Yeah.
think like that, it's such a fascinating concept of just like knowing the people you're with or being with people and understanding what they need without actually talking to them.
Yeah. Well, that's something that this does, right? This
Right.
completely uh pulls us out of that thing. Again, it's one more thing to dull us, to make us dull. It's one more thing to make us lose that connection that we have. And it's interesting, man. It's really piqued my interest. And I'm not saying like full disclosure, full disclaimer, I guess I should say is that, you know, I'm very skeptical of, most things. And so when this guy starts talking, it's like I believe I believe what he's saying. I'm not sure about all of it, and so it's something that I would have to sort of seek out for myself. But I've had some experiences, man, with like some of the stuff he's talked about, and um, some of that stuff we've talked about, like the lucid dreaming and stuff that I used to be able to do. I can't. It's interesting, man. Like with the more I get into social media and the more that like the less I'm able to do that. Like I haven't done that in years. It used to be all the time. It used to be that I'd had these, sort of, some people call it sleep paralysis, where your mind wakes up, your body's still asleep, but then you can kind of float around the room, and um that stuff doesn't happen anymore. But when it would happen, I had a couple of experiences that got really, really scary. Like things happened, I heard voices, there was something uneasy about what I was experiencing. And he talks about that. He talks about how, you know, some people when they and he equates it to not so much lucid dreaming as being in a different state of consciousness where you can go to another realm or something, And that's kind of what it feels like. It feels like you're sort of here, but you're not. You're somewhere else. And but he talks about how like um, it's almost like taking psychedelics, how you you encounter what you bring into the room with you, you know. And so like I've had a tendency in the past, as people know, I struggle with depression and anxiety, and so those are negative emotions. And so he's like, you'll have a negative experience. You'll see a monster, you'll see a shadow, and it'll freak you out, and you'll pull yourself out of the situation. That's what would happen. I would wake up out of my body. I say out of my body. I was awake, but I know I was asleep, and that's a better way of putting it. Um, and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna see if I can fly out of the window, because you're conscious and you're like, okay, but I know that this is different. And so when I would decide to explore, something would happen pretty quickly into that experience that would feel dark and menacing. And like you talk about a dark spiritual feeling of like things
Yeah.
not being off. And it would cause me to want to wake up really fast. And it's kind of odd. Anybody who's ever experienced it will know what I'm talking about. You kind of have to force yourself to pull out of it to wake up. And like it's hard. It's difficult to like, almost like you're like pulling yourself awake like this. Because you're panicked and you just want to wake up. But this guy's talking about. So I've experienced that, and I've experienced that sort of thing, and it's enough to make me really curious about the rest of it. Like, okay, so I actually might buy the guy's book and just read it and just
Yeah.
see
I'd be curious.
see what he has to say about because his whole thing he's like once you learn how to do he's like he's available to everyone. They actually get into psychedelics. They get into DMT and psilocybin, and he's like he said. He said it's the same thing. He's like people that go on a DMT trip are going to one of these realms. But he goes, the problem with doing it via psychedelics is that you're shooting in a rocket ship kind of real quick in and out, like over the landscape, you get to see it and then you're back. He's like, if you do it without psychedelics, you can go in and experience it and kind of become part of the world. It's the difference between uh going on a hike in the Grand Canyon and spending a week there and like exploring and walking and moving, or flying in a plane over the Grand Canyon. You know,
Right.
it's like so again, man, all this stuff that we talk about like this sounds
Like,
completely
do you,
complete. Go ahead.
yeah, do you think you dream more when you were tired or like, because you can't go to, like, they always said, like, hey, the last thing you think about is what you're going to dream about. And I've never really experienced that, but I
Yeah.
also haven't dreamed in the longest time either. Like, I don't, but there's been times where I'm tired where I think I'm going to have a really messed up dream. And I wake up not remembering anything in my dreams.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have not dreamed very much. Again, it's been about the same amount of time. It's probably been the last 10 years that I've stopped dreaming and I've stopped having those lucid dreams. And it's like I just close my eyes, it's black, and I wake up.
Is there a correlation between dreaming and goal setting and manifestation?
Well, I think what this guy's talking about is manifestation.
Right.
Again, man, like, when you talk about that, I think about it more in a prayer aspect than I do in a manifestation aspect. The thing about manifestation is I don't believe in pure manifestation. Like you have to be proactive in
You
what
have
you're
to put the
doing.
work in.
You have to put the work in. But the thing is like, but his point about this information system is that you can change the probabilities that it will happen by thinking about the fact that it's going to happen.
Right.
And so, but that's what's the difference in that in prayer? I know in prayer I think with prayer you're being more vulnerable, and you're asking for something. I think with manifestation, like when you're talking about that, you're concentrating on it and you're trying to evoke the change and not letting God evoke the change. I'm
Right.
more of a fan of the prayer thing, man. I think there's more community in prayer. Like when people are praying for someone, it's
Yeah, of
you
course.
know or for something. Uh, but uh, but yeah, man, I think that you can just like you're changing if what this fellow is saying is correct, you can change the probabilities of something, not really manifesting it, but you can. And he talks a lot about the positive side of things, being positive, having a positive mindset and a positive outlook rather than a negative outlook. Um, he talks about how like when he's talking about healing, if someone comes to you and says they have stage 4 cancer, and then they start telling all their friends they have stage 4 cancer, and the doctor says you only have a month to live, and so they're telling all their friends they have a month to live. When their friends think about that person now, they're thinking about a dead person. Pretty
Right.
instant, pretty immediately. Like they're thinking about like, oh, this person's going to die and they're going to be dead. And, you know, he's like, what would the difference be if the doctor came in and said, look, you have stage 4 cancer, but I think you can beat it. And I think that you need to tell your friends that you can beat it. And so, you know, maybe not just beat it, but like you said, yes, you have stage 4 cancer, but there's a great chance you could live, and we're going to do all these things. And then when that person tells their friends, like, yeah, I've got this thing, but they think I'm going to be great and everything's going to be fine, they're not seeing a dead person, they're seeing a hopeful person. And so, what would be the change in the outcome if everyone's thoughts were on someone who is
Like a positive, like, hey, we got
right,
this.
like a positive thing? The probabilities would change that that person is going to survive versus going the opposite direction. Like maybe what happened with my dad, right? My dad has brain cancer, and they're like, this is gonna, you know, and so everyone around him, we were just all like waiting, you know, and did we, I'm not blaming anybody, but did we sway the probabilities in a downward direction, right?
Right.
Because of that. Um, it's an interesting thought, man, about because again, man, if consciousness is the real thing, if consciousness is the only real thing, and everything else around us has been created by this consciousness system that we're all a part of. So you're a part of the same system, I'm a part of the same system. When they say that we're all the same, that's what they mean. Like that would be true then. Like
Yeah,
myself
yeah.
and the homeless guy sleeping on the ground in Los Angeles are of the same thing. The
Let's
same.
correlate that. I mean, I'm gonna connect it, but like obviously, congrats on Searchlight coming out
Mm,
today. Uh,
thanks.
but I know in the previous episodes, last couple episodes, we've talked about where if you guys aren't all on the same page in terms of creating music, whether it's writing or the
Hmm.
lyrics or the I don't even know what you call the part of like just playing the instruments. But like when you're not in that mindset, if one of
Yeah.
you's distracted or one of you thinks this part sucks, but the other two think it's great, it's like, does that song only come together when everyone either agrees that the song sucks or that hey, there's a we if we put our time and effort here, this song is gonna work? Like I'm trying to
I,
think of examples of great songs that came out where one guy or two band members thought it was garbage, the other two thought it was great, and somehow it became a great song.
well, I'll say this, man. It's very, 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 very rarely is it the song that you think is great when you're making it that ends up being the one that resonates with everyone. Um, you can have a feeling about a song, um, but like if I think back about the albums we've made and the songs that I thought were going to be hits, like as you're making, like this is
Yeah,
obviously a
banger.
hit.
Yeah.
And then everyone else is like, yeah, it's okay. And then this is this one-off song that you don't really think about that was not your favorite, that, you know, was just another song on Song Mountain of the
Right.
mountain of songs you were writing. And that's the one that everyone gravitates toward. Um, that's how it happens more times than not. So I think that there's an intangible thing about a song that no one's ever going to know. As far as like do we work on this? Do we not work on this? Do we try to dig it out of, bring it back from the dead? I'm experiencing that a lot right now. In producing this record, we just recorded all the rest of the drums for the whole record this past week. So, 8 songs of drums this past week. And here, man, I'll put this on me, man. Like, meaning I'll take the blame for this. I'm not saying I'll talk about myself, but, um, some of these songs that we're recording 3 weeks ago, I thought weren't that great, you know. And I think a lot of it had to do with my attitude, my mindset, my lack of positivity about things. I thought we needed some more stuff. I might still think that we maybe need some more stuff, but that's beside the point. Not meaning more stuff, but just I
Yeah.
digress. Uh, but I changed my attitude about working on them. I got in and started doing some arranging, rewrote some stuff, like, move some parts and pieces
Right.
around, and then now I feel great about it. Um, and you talk about th- this system or God. I'll say God, but God is a system, I think. I'm not saying God is a cold machine. That's not my point, but God has created everything. So God has created this system that we have, and if we talk about this in being creative a lot, how it's not from you, it's from somewhere else. Like the stuff passes by and you grab a hold of it. And there's a song that was kind of the last song I had to sort of crack the code on. And there was a chorus that didn't feel like a chorus to me at all. And, you know, it was the last thing that had to kind of be worked on, and I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure it out. And I was on my run and I started singing this melody. And, where did that come from? I don't know. Because I
Hmm.
wasn't really thinking about the song, but I just started singing this melody and I was like, holy shit, that's pretty good. So I need to hang on to this until I get back to the house. So I sang it the whole time. And then I started working on lyrics as I'm running. And like these lyrics started coming in. And I went right out to the studio as soon as I got my shower. And well, I recorded it on my phone as soon as I got back so I didn't
Yeah, we
forget
know
it.
you
Then
didn't
I,
shower first, so
yeah,
let's yeah.
well, maybe not. But I went out to the studio, got a cup of coffee, went out to the studio, moved some stuff around in the arrangement, grabbed a microphone, sang, didn't overthink the lyrics, just sang whatever was on my mind, sang the melody, listened back to it. I'm like, man, this is a pretty cool chorus, like I don't know where this came from, but it just kind of happened. I sent it over to Brent. I'm like, hey, I'm going to send you something. And he called me as soon as he listened. He's like, man, that's a one listen. Dude. That's great. Um, how did that happen? Where did that come from? I don't think it came from me. You know, I think that it was just I grabbed something as it was floating by that was required for that song. So, you know, does it take all of us agreeing on something? No, it doesn't, because I didn't agree that that song was finished or good or whatever. I, as a producer, it's my job find to make the songs the best they can be. And that's what I'm gonna have to shift my brain from songwriter to producer is,
Right, right.
I'm songwriting when I'm songwriting with Brent or whatever. But then when it comes time to produce, it's like I have to take all these parts and pieces, songs I did write on, songs I didn't write on, whatever, and make them the best they can be. And so like I was the mouthpiece for these aren't good enough, and now I'm the mouthpiece for we've got a great record, I
Right.
think. Um, but it took a little bit of effort to do that, and it took turning my brain from negative to positive and uh, uh, ex really changing the rollover from writer to producer and going, okay, now my job is to just whatever these things are, we have to make them the best they can be. And I really think we've done that, man. I think and we recorded those drums really quick too. Like, I mean, we did 8 songs in 4 days, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah,
As it
and
relates to the type, because when it's usually you and Brent, obviously, and they're just kind of doing your thing in Charleston. As when other people come in, whether it's like a Dave Bathett, Zach, Barry, Rickard, whoever's like involved with like this process here, like obviously
yeah,
people bring their not baggage but different energy in there,
yeah,
and it's always fluctuating.
yeah,
And I'm gonna say this with Barry because I spent a lot of time with him outside
mm,
with the TV show stuff, and
yep,
there is a sense he carries such an amount of positivity, and not to say he doesn't have bad days or it's like, hey, this guy or this thing sucked. Like we all have that,
hmm
but being around him and filming a lot with him, there is a sense of calmness with him where when I knew he was coming down to see you and the stuff we talked about on the podcast last week, where it's like that weird headspace. Like
hmm
I wonder if when you bring in an energy like Barry, who's there to work, put the time in, will support you up or down, like doesn't matter, he's
yeah,
got your back. I
yep,
wonder if that helps you in a way that kind of like helps you kind of release like that negative energy off you.
yeah, man. Well, that's true. It's uh, I don't know if we talked about this last week, and if we did, or a couple weeks ago, I apologize. But we talked about my wife calling me out. We talked about
No,
this. Oh, yeah. So,
sounds good
um,
though.
yeah. Let me preface this by saying, man, like the thing about the people I'm in a band with, and namely Brent and Barry, is something people. I mean, I think you can get a palpable sense of this just off of watching the online stuff, probably with our band, but they're super kind people.
Correct.
Like just kind, like. not put on, like this is who they really are. Brent is one of the kindest people I know. Barry is one of the kindest people I know. And Zach as well. Uh, but Brent is, I think about Bible verses, and there's that verse that says, love is patient, love is kind, love's not boastful. It doesn't, and it goes on and on. And Russell
Yeah.
Brand had something one time where he said, you take love and you put your name in that place, and you say Russell is patient, Russell is kind, or Eric is patient, Eric is kind, Eric isn't boastful. And it's like, hang on a second, I'm none of those things right now. And that's a good way to think about it. And so uh, I think it was the Searchlight mix, the one that everybody's hearing today. Um, I had I had finished that and sent it over for Brent to listen to, and I had a chip on my shoulder, man. I've had a chip on my shoulder about this record for a while, um, for various reasons. When I shouldn't. Sometimes I feel there's some moments when I was correct, but as a whole, I probably shouldn't have. And Brent's talking to me on the phone. We're on FaceTime, and I'm working on a painting while I'm talking to him,
Yeah,
and
obviously.
and I'm just sort of like halfway paying attention and whatever. And he's telling me about some stuff he wants to change, not like major things, like nothing major. He's like, "Hey, I hear a couple things, and I'll come by tomorrow." And I'm talking to him or whatever. We get off the phone, and I walk into the den. I'm in the kitchen when I'm talking to him, and I walk into the den, and my wife, s- who never interjects herself into anything, she goes, I'll never forget it. She goes, "It's no wonder he's scared to talk to you." She goes, "You're hostile."
Damn.
That was it. She didn't say anything else. I didn't, and I took a couple days to think about that, man, and then I went back to that Bible verse, and it's like Eric is patient, Eric is not. Well, Eric's not being patient, Eric's not being kind. Eric's being boastful. Eric is doing all these things that he shouldn't do. And then I think about Brent. Like Brent is being very patient. Brent is being very kind. Brent is being those two things especially. And that's really what turned my attitude around about
Oh,
the record was that. And then, you know, Barry coming in and being patient and kind with me. And I'm patient and kind with them in that setting. In the studio setting, I'm always like,
yeah, of course.
I'm never trying to bring a dark energy into the studio for sure, because that's bad. But um, yeah, man, it's having those my wife calling me on that, and me really realizing that, like, man, I'm being an asshole about things, and it caused me to change my attitude and try to match the energy that Brent and Barry have had so far. Zach hasn't been in the studio yet with stuff with this round, so, and I'm sure it will be that when he gets here. Um, but it caused me to I try to match their energy. Well, I should be patient and kind because that's what they're being.
Right.
And it's kind of shifted the whole vibe of the record for me. Just
It's
that.
the Kelly aspect's interesting because I guess I never realized till you brought it up that your touring world, she's aware of and knows about it, and obviously comes out and sees what it is. The
Hmm.
producing world, when you're home, she's there, so
Yeah.
she deals with your good and bad days. When it comes to your private life, obviously she's there. When it comes to your social or the horse stuff, like she's there. It's like she's always in your orbit, and
Hmm.
it's like that's one person where I'm wondering if like that's someone you could actually talk to about this stuff because she anyone that's met Kelly knows there's no it's very cut dry.
Hmm.
I'm going to say what's on my mind and love it or hate it. This is
Yep.
my truth. And that's what I love about her. But I wonder if like her saying that was her kind of reacting to your not attitude, but like how you were feeling affecting this orb, this big Venn diagram, and
Yeah.
she's in the circle with you this whole time. And it's kind of interesting how you look at that.
Yeah, man. Well, she does listen to me all the time about this stuff, and I think that's kind of where that
Without judgment though either.
right. Well, I'll tell her, like,
A soundboard.
I'll tell her how things are affecting me and how, so and so thinks this, and Brent
Yeah.
thinks this, and Barry thinks that, and Zach said this, and management's that, and blah blah blah. And we're always, she's always
Yeah.
listening to me. And it's very rare for her to not be on Team Eric, you know? And I what really stopped me and made me think was the fact that she was, you know, not suddenly, but like she's Team Brent on this, and because by the way, Brent spends a lot of time in our house. Like he's
Yeah, yeah.
he's over every day, and so we all talk, and Kelly's talking to Brent all the time, and I'm talking. We're all we're all around each other a lot, and uh, it just really stopped me in my tracks, and it made me really, really, really evaluate the way that I was treating my friend, first of all, and second of all, how that was going to affect what we do creatively, and I'm being a douchebag, and I didn't even. Here's the thing. I'm gonna say I was being a douchebag and I didn't realize it. I probably realized it, you know,
Yep.
but I was so salty about certain things that like it was like I thought it was justified in a way, and but I mean I wasn't setting out to be a jerk. It's just
Yeah, no, I get
I
it.
felt like
Totally.
maybe I was justified in being a jerk
Right.
when I was going to be, and so for my wife to say that, and again, dude, I didn't immediately call Brent and apologize. I literally sat on it for a couple of days and like just let it marinate in my head, and like I thought an awful lot about it, and I talked to God about it, and realized, man, that like, dude, you're being the opposite of Christ-like. You're being the opposite
Yeah.
of you're not being very helpful. You're being hostile, and like that word, man, that was such a unique word to use in that situation, in that scenario. And so um it just kind of pulled me out of my thing, man. And so the vibe is definitely 1,000% uh it affects the record. It affects what we're doing creatively, it affects each other, and the positive or negative intention that you bring into that space affects all of it. And so um I am I really feel like uh the rest of this record is going to, it's not it's going to be easy to do. It's never easy to do, but it's going to be a way different mental and physical experience for me, I think, than the rest than the first part of it was. This record's kind of in halves in a
Right.
way. We have all this first half stuff, um, with Killing Fields and 365 and now Searchlight, these first four songs that'll be on the record, but um, we have all this other stuff to put out, and it causes me to want to go back and maybe revisit some of those songs, maybe just the mixes and that kind of thing
Yeah.
once I get into working on it. Because I don't know, man. Just I feel like I'm talking in circles today, but
Does the search that video come out today?
I don't know. I don't know, John.
Because like it,
I didn't. I forgot about this. I forgot Searchlight was coming out today until today.
well, I mean,
So
this doesn't really. I think people are going to see it, but like what I found, having done numerous video shoots with you guys,
yeah.
in between the takes and like when people see the video, I think it's super rad. It's up there for me with like Monsters or like Get Up in
Mm.
terms of like storytelling.
Yeah.
And in between takes, I would always walk out there. I would hear like a banjo playing, and like you would literally walked around for like the last 2 hours of that shoot,
Oh yeah, dude. I play
just playing the
constantly.
banjo. I
Yeah.
went over to Zach and go, man, he's really in it. He goes, he might steal that banjo.
I wanted to steal that banjo. And I might. I thought about calling because it was a rental. I thought about calling the company while I'm here and be like, "Hey, would y'all sell that
Right.
banjo?"
It just,
You
I
know.
guess to my point, it seemed like you were in such a happy space, just kind of like noodling on that thing in between what you're supposed to do. It was like kind of
Well,
cool to see.
well, that's my normal aesthetic is like I'm not happy unless I'm noodling on something or scribbling
Right.
on something or whatever. And so, um, yeah, man, that I actually wrote. like two songs on that banjo that day, or two ideas on the banjo that day, just sitting around playing. And what else did I do? I played Into the Mystic by Van Morrison. I figured that out on the banjo. I was sitting around playing that and singing that all day.
Yeah.
Um, what a cool instrument. So the banjo, some people might not know, but it's I believe the only like instrument that's indigenous to colonial United States. Like it was invented in the United States, and um, it's not something that I've ever been drawn to, and now it's like I want to play one all the time. It's very strange. I think
Right.
it's something. I think there's something uh, uh, ingrained in my DNA with a banjo that wants me to play it. You know,
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
almost like because I'm trying to picture
It's almost like I'm white or something.
like I can picture some of the characters from like your world you're creating that would have
Yeah,
like a banjo, but like even the idea we've talked about with that one-eyed thing where it's like that it's such a unique like item and sound that every movie I've seen or like every where a person has like an instrument, I've always been drawn to that character because it's like it's another layer to some hardened person or someone that's going through it. And I don't know, there's almost like a weird, strange innocence to it.
yeah.
Now it's just trying to. I saw when I saw you doing that, I'm like, man, that'd be kind of cool to have this character just have a banjo on their back when the world's going to shit.
Yeah, man, it's a there's a like there's a song that I've been kind of tooling around with for probably 4 months now. Just sort of sometimes songs happen really quickly and sometimes they take a second. And there's a song that I've been sort of, you know, it had the potential to be a Shinedown song, but I don't think it's going to be. Brent and I messed with it for a day, not even a day, an hour one time. So it might just end up being a something that I do, you know.
Yep.
But like I've been working on it on guitar for so long, and then that day I started playing the whole song with like a banjo, like strumming it, not ding 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 ding, but like just
Yeah.
kind of strumming it with a pick. And it took on a whole other life, man. It like took on, and not like in a country way, just in a very honest way. There was an honesty that came out in the lyric and in the song when I was just strumming it on a banjo instead of on a guitar. And I think that's maybe something about a banjo is like it's there's an honesty in a banjo that's there that I like, you know. It's it's not a with a guitar you can play like different dynamics like it's really really soft and to really really loud and whatever. With the banjo there's some dynamics there, but it's like when you hit that string, man, it's coming out like full volume every time.
Right.
And so it exposes things that maybe you can hide with a guitar. And so, yeah, man, it's an interesting instrument. That's something about Searchlight, man, that people need to understand is like we didn't sit down and go, we're going to write a country song. It wasn't like there wasn't like an intention with that. It was just uh uh I
Like
remember
that seems like it would be super difficult when you're not a traditional country band. If you
yeah,
went
well,
out like, oh, we gotta write a country song, it's like, no, it's gotta come to you guys.
Brent came in. I remember he walked into I think he had just gone to take a piss or something. And he walked back into the control room and he just starts singing like, he's like, hey, I just came with this melody thing. Oh, don't let up for me. I don't need a turn, da, 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 da. And so I just started playing the chords that are underneath it, just started
Yep.
kind of strumming that out. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And so we came with the verse stuff. It happened really quickly. But I remember that night, like usually we'll lay down a demo or something and, put something in demo form and then record it fully when we do the record. Um, but that night we're like, let's not make a demo. Like, let's just track this. Like, let's start tracking what's going to be on the record. And, other than drums, and some guitar stuff, but like we in earnest tracked that night the instrumentation for it and the pianos, and I just grabbed a banjo. I was like, oh, this would sound cool on this, and it kind of started taking on a country vibe. And then I put the slide guitar on it, and it was like, okay, well, that's what this song wants to be. It wasn't like it was like intended to like we're gonna write a country song. It was like no, this song just evolved into this thing that it is. And um uh so it's very much a Shinedown song in that way. Just like the same thing with 365. Like there's a lot of synths on 365, and it's like we said, I go, we're gonna write a synth song. You know, it's like no, I mean we just like sometimes with production and the way that our songs end up, we just let the song tell us what it wants to be and just lead us around and um so yeah, man, it's really it's a unique thing. So the banjo and I think that there's a fiddle on it now too. Um we recorded a fiddle for it kind of last minute, but um actually when we did the video it wasn't even in the song. But uh yeah, I think it's really good, man. I think it's different and you
Yeah,
know,
it's awesome.
it's gonna be fun. But yeah, man, I'd forgotten that it came out today. Just how involved I am with that side of things.
It's almost got to be the way to be because it seems like why would you, as the artist, worry? I mean, I get the idea of like the promo aspect of it and like showcasing it, but like that's I think that type of stuff when you're so in tune with like release dates, it kind of gets in the way of like the creating leading up to it. At least
Yeah,
for me.
I as soon as I turn the mix in, as soon as I have the master back and I can listen back to the master, um, Ted Jensen, of course, always mastering our stuff.
Yep.
When Ted sends it back and I listen to it and Brent listens to it and we both look at each other and we're like, yeah, I think it's great. I honestly, I don't eject it from my brain, but like I definitely, especially with how we're doing this record now, man, with like I'm still tracking things and we have songs we're releasing at the same time. It's very interesting. So I want to be in the, I'm in the creative world and making the songs and recording the parts and so I just haven't really thought about Searchlight, you know.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about Dance Kid Dance or Killing Fields or any of that stuff for a
How
while.
much input does someone like Ted Jansen? I mean, obviously he's a friend and you guys work with him, but
Yeah.
if he gets to when it gets to sent to him, how much input does he have to be like, hey guys, before I do this, what about this idea? Or is
No,
it he
he'll
just
never
does it?
he just does it. You know, he'll give like when it comes to if he feels like there's something in the mix that I could change
Gotcha.
or do differently, he's made those suggestions before. Um,
But creatively, he's not like, hey, you guys should rephrase this or this sounds weird.
no, I mean, I'm sure that if we sent him something that was
Right,
not
right.
up to par or something for Shinedown, he might say something. But that's not really his. He's just there to think about it. If someone builds a table and they stain the wood and they do the whole thing and it's finished. What Ted is basically doing is he's putting the gloss on top of it, right? Like he's just going through it. So the table's already built. It's already the color it's going to be. It is what it is. He's just there to put the finishing on it. And so that's what he does. And he does the final EQing and the final compression and uh he can do all sorts. Those guys are wizards, man. They can do all sorts of things. Like, and he's shown me some of his tricks in the past, and it's interesting to watch. Um, but uh, it's very rare that I've sent him something that he's come back with any sort of suggestions on. Now, there have been times when he sent masters back, and I'm like, we don't feel like the master is doing what it should do, and um, because it's our thing at the end of the day, and we'll be like, "Can you do this? Can you try that?" And he'll do it, man. He's really good at being subtle with things. So sometimes that's a good thing. Like he doesn't just like if I say, "Can we get a little more volume out of this?" It's not loud enough. He won't just crank it up and send it to us.
Right,
He'll do a little bit of something, and it's like a little bit more, and then he'll be like, "Hey, I don't want to, you know." I don't want to just start distorting, so I don't think we should do any more than we're
right.
doing now. He's very good about that stuff, man. So,
Nice.
um, he's a if you look up Ted Jensen's catalog,
Legend.
he's yeah,
Legend.
he's mastered quite a few things.
Yeah.
So
I think he did the Last Supper too.
he might have
Yeah.
mastered that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But
Awesome.
but yeah, man, it's I should relish more in release dates and that kind of thing. I think it should be I should feel more accomplished about it than I do. But for me, it's like I'm always caught up in making the thing.
Correct.
So right now I'm neck deep in making the next record, making these other songs, and
But you've already
so
experienced the joy before anyone else hears that song to experience what they
yeah,
experience.
yeah. I mean, like for me, it's like that's the when I listen back to a mix and when I'm doing the final bounce of a mix, I'm listening through the song, and like I know that like pretty much like okay, this one that I'm listening to is the one that everybody's going to hear, and unless I have to stop it and grab something and then
Yeah.
push it back through again. But as I'm doing that, I'm that's when I take the joy in it. There's something really cool about being like the only person that's heard something
Yeah.
that millions of people are going to hear. Um, and by the way, by the time that I get to that point, I've listened to this song
Yeah. A couple thousand times.
more than I care to. So,
Right.
uh, by that time, it's time to pass it on to other people. It's time to get it out of the way. So,
Right. Sweet. Well, I think this is a good episode.
yeah, man, it was. I feel like I was a little mentally dull today. So, thank you for everyone for putting up with me. But
Yeah. It's all
yeah,
good.
man. I guess we'll do this again at some point.
Yeah. Or not. Maybe we just get,
We should do a podcast.
yeah, we should do one later.